I grew up with mostly just my mom. So my dad was kind of in and out by the time I was 8 years old. Was not a reliable presence in my life. So it was really just my mom. And my mom is somebody who is really, really avoids conflict, and really would just like everything to be okay all the time. So she's very optimistic and very friendly and very warm, but she's not somebody who talks about hard things generally. So that means that we didn't talk about these things when I was growing up. We didn't talk about hard things. We actually didn't talk about really good things either. I mean, my house was not a household where we said I love you really very much at all. And so I've really tried to do a lot of the opposite as a parent myself. There was a time about a year ago when I was really struggling, feeling like I was in a position where I felt like I really had to be everything to everyone. And I felt like I was kind of running on empty. And then when things happen where I feel like I need an ally, I remember having a moment last year where I struggled with that. So, ascribed identity, the way that I understand ascribed identity, it's this identity that other people put onto you, that other people perceive you to have. And I remember years ago coming across research that really lit me up because I was like, this is exactly what I've been thinking about. And it's research that shows that your ascribed identity is not necessarily the identity that you claim yourself. So, who you feel yourself to be, who you know yourself to be, may or may not converge with who other people see you to be. And the reason that's important is because as social animals, as humans that are social beings, we can't help but be affected by the perception of other people. We can do our best to try to just be who we are, and who cares what everybody else thinks. But that's not really how we're wired. Part of the way that we even come to know ourselves is by watching how other people respond to us, right? Like, we only know we're tall to the extent that there are lots of other people that are shorter than we are, right? So everything we know about ourselves is relative to other people. So in some ways, whatever identity is being ascribed to you is going to have an effect on who you become. Where that becomes really difficult, and I think this can be a lot harder for people who embody underrepresented, marginalized identities, because there are stereotypes that set those expectations of what people think we are. So ascribed identity and actual identity can really go in opposite directions. So for me, I know that, and I think this is true for many folks of color, that like as I'm growing up and we start to become aware of what people think I'm going to be based on the texture of my hair, or based on the thickness of my lips, or the color of my skin, you start to sort of come up against when are those similar, and when are those different. And I think the domain where it bothered me the most, where I felt like what people thought I was and what I felt like I was were really different, was actually in academic spaces. I think there's just a certain fatigue that comes with it. There's a certain amount of energy that goes into sort of monitoring yourself all the time, that we eventually run out of gas. And I've certainly felt like I have run out of gas sometimes, where I just need to go and not have to do those things. I don't want to be perceived as someone who translates the Black experience. I don't want to be perceived as a people of color whisperer, and I don't want to be a translator. other people of color can speak for themselves, and I don't want to be the one that people. I don't want to be perceived as the comfortable one, one that people can come to because I'm the good type, and whether that's because I have a degree or because I speak in whatever ways I speak or whatever position I'm in. I don't want to be perceived as the exception to the rule.